Hi world, just for historical purposes I should state I'm recording this around 10 a.m. UK time on the 28th of October 2024, but this is my forecast, astrologically speaking, for November 2024. I need to make a couple of distinctions here. I've been an astrologer, I've been studying astrology for 47 years. I've been practicing it, doing horoscopes for 43 years. I know what I'm doing. And astrologers should not make predictions. Their job is to forecast, like the weather forecast. But also, an astrologer's job is to bring hope, to inspire people to make positive changes in their individual lives on the grounds that little droplets of change add to a big tsunami. With that in mind, I have to say that November 2024 is looking a very challenging time for a lot of people. So first of all, let's look at what's not going on, and then we can focus on the problems. Let's look at what's not happening first. Neptune isn't a big deal in November 2024. Retrograde at the end of Pisces, and of course those people at the end of Pisces, Virgo, Sagittarius, Gemini, yes, you're all feeling the pressure of this last 2 years. It's been a very dissolving and confusing time. Still going on, will be over within a few months from now. Venus is in Sagittarius and will be moving into Capricorn in the middle of this month, and not really impacting anything else in the sky. Jupiter is retrograde in Gemini. 1 month into 2 months into a 9-month-long square to Saturn. But with its retrograde position, it's not directly impacting things, although later this month it will come into the viewfinder, for reasons which I'll come to in a moment. And Saturn, currently retrograde in mid-Pisces, 12 degrees of Pisces, but standing still. And about to stand still and start moving forward again. Saturn will stop going retrograde in the second week of November, and by mid-November, Saturn is beginning to microscopically inch its way forward. So what does that leave? That leaves the Sun and the Moon and Mercury and Mars and Uranus and Pluto. Mercury is going to move into Sagittarius in a few days' time, around the 2nd, 3rd, 4th of December, depending on where you are in the world. And then it's going to stay in Sagittarius for quite a long time, because Mercury will go retrograde later this month. Now, Mercury's going to actually go retrograde on the 25th of November. Yep, 25th of November, 26th, 2:37 a.m. UK time. And we enter the Mercury retrograde shadow around the 7th of November, and it's a long one, okay? We enter the Mercury retrograde shadow on the 7th of November. Mercury will go retrograde on the 26th of November. It will stop going retrograde on the 15th of December, and we will exit the Mercury retrograde shadow on the 3rd of January. Now, when Mercury goes retrograde, it's going to be standing still opposite Jupiter. And there's going to be a Mercury-Jupiter opposition for at least a week, possibly 10 days. And this is going to be occurring between, say, the 13th, 12th, 13th, through to, say, the 22nd of November. So the middle 10 days of November. There's going to be a lot of over-amplification of things. Now, let's just park that one for a moment. Mercury opposite Jupiter in the middle of November. Pluto is going to leave Capricorn for the final time. in the third week of November and move into Aquarius. This will happen on the 19th, late in the day, UK time. And Pluto will not enter Capricorn again for another 233 years. So he's moving into Aquarius big time. Which in itself, on its own, okay, it's an astrological and astronomical event. But when tied with what else is going on, it's massive. Mars is currently at the end of Cancer. As I speak, he's at 27 degrees of Cancer, opposing Pluto. The opposition to Pluto becomes exact on the 3rd of November. Mars opposite Pluto happens every 2 years-ish, and it lasts for a week or two. This one's going to be a lot longer because Mars is going to move into Leo shortly, around the 5th, 6th of 4th, 5th. No, Mars moves into Leo on the 4th of November, and then it's going to go retrograde and move backwards into Cancer in January before standing still in February and then moving forwards into Leo again around March, April time. So during this time, Mars is going to oppose Pluto 3 times. The first of which is imminent, the second of which will be when Mars opposes Pluto at 1 degree of Leo. This will be at the very start of the new year. And the third will be when Mars will oppose Pluto at 3 degrees of Leo, Aquarius, around the end of April. But the first pass, in the next few days, Mars opposite Pluto at 29 degrees of Cancer and Capricorn. This is an extremely explosive aspect. This can be explosive literally in terms of big explosions, or metaphorically in terms of explosions in terms of people's lives. This can happen globally in terms of large-scale warfare, or personally in terms of people erupting. Mars opposite Pluto will bring things to the surface in a sudden, sharp and incisive way. Pluto deals with the underworld, Mars deals with direct action. Add to this that on the 1st of November is the once every year Scorpio New Moon. The Sun and Moon together in 9 degrees of Scorpio, I believe. Yep. Whilst Mars and Pluto, the ruler of Scorpio, are exactly opposite each other. There's going to be a lot of sudden news in the next few days of things suddenly coming to the surface and being revealed. There's going to be a lot of secrets and lies being exposed. There's going to be a lot of shocking developments in the next few days. And then we get to the full moon in November, on the 15th of November. The full moon will be at 24 degrees of Taurus. Uranus in the sky, by the time of that full moon, will still be retrograde at 25 degrees of Taurus. So the full moon will be conjunct Uranus on the 15th of November. A full moon in Taurus conjunct Uranus. Full moons bring endings. Uranus in Taurus is a bit of a weird one because Uranus brings change, whereas Taurus represents stability. And a full moon conjunct Uranus suggests that there's going to be sudden changes, sudden radical changes around mid-November that's going to shock the world. Now, let's just take a step out of the astrological and look at the global with all of these patterns in the background. The ongoing conflicts that are occupying the headlines in the world at the moment are primarily those between Ukraine and Russia and the warfare in the Middle East. Both are on edge because in both there is a global fear, unspoken, no one's prepared to voice it, for fear of tempting providence, but there is a global fear in the short term of a sudden escalation in either or both conflicts involving nuclear, which would be the end of civilization. If you use nuclear, you don't need to worry about outcomes because there won't be any properties left to sell. There won't be any hospitals left to treat the wounded. There'll be no police force left. Everyone dies. There's a nuclear power station in Ukraine that's constantly being fought over. Both Iran and Israel have nuclear capacity. We have Mars opposite Pluto and a new moon in Scorpio at the same time. It is my astrological opinion that if we're going to reach that point of incisive danger at any time, it's going to be soon, in the next few days. Let's hope and pray not. It's also worthy of note that 29 degrees of Aries and Libra represent, I believe, the sun signs of both Ali Khamenei, the spiritual leader of Iran, and Benjamin Netanyahu, the leader of Israel. It is also interesting that the full moon on the 15th of November is at 24 degrees of Taurus, which is on top of the sun sign position of both Israel and Palestine from the day that they came into being as legitimate entities. So there are massive changes and escalations going to be happening in the affairs concerning Israel and its neighbours over the next few weeks. I do suspect that the full moon on the 15th of November will bring some type of climax and hopefully cessation to this. But it's pointless. Individuals getting uptight and angry going, yeah, but this side did that and that side did this. Everyone's suffering. And there's going to be generations of children, young men, young women with PTSD because of all of this. The old fundamentalist men on all sides are damaging countless generations for the future by their stupidity and arrogance, all in the name of religion. It's sick. And humanity is at risk. This isn't all. There happens to be an election taking place in America on November the 5th. Kamala Harris was born on a full moon. Aries Libra, 25 degrees. That's looking pretty good. Donald Trump was born on a full moon. Sun at 20 degrees, 21 degrees of Gemini, moon at 20, 21 degrees of Sagittarius. Jupiter's currently there at the moment. He's in full bombastic flow. What's really clear is that firstly, in the short-term future, before the election, there's going to be one or two incisive, direct and very sharp bits of information coming to the surface that are going to create a stink, much bigger than anything we've seen so far. As soon as the election is called, there will be problems. The full moon on the 15th of November, conjunct Uranus, the change bringer, is exactly on top of Donald Trump's midheaven. So his story will not end, regardless whether he wins or loses, at the 5th of November. I do feel, however, that the more we get into the middle of November, his status and position is going to become a hell of a lot clearer. Problem is that after that full moon, we head into a Mercury retrograde, with Mercury standing still opposite Jupiter for a week, amplifying and exaggerating everything out of perspective. So it's pretty clear to me that there's going to be no resolution to the conflictual situations of the world in the short term. There's also going to be no clear outcome to the American election in the short term. And that with the Mercury retrograde not exiting its shadow until January the 3rd, which coincidentally is the time where Mars is opposite Pluto retrograde for the second time at 1 degree of Leo, Aquarius, that day as Mercury exits its retrograde shadow, we're heading into the proverbial SXXX storm. And the next few days, particularly through to about November the 4th, are the most critical of all. The period between November the 4th and November the 15th is going to be a period of shock and awe. And that from the 15th of November onwards, there seems to be some type of cessation because there will be some type of conclusion. And here I'm mixing all the different astrological energies, the American election, the war in the Middle East and in Russia and Ukraine, and I'm trying to find some type of wriggle room, way through to find some type of hope. And the best I can do is to say that by the time we're into the second half of November, we will all start seeing some type of clarity in all of these situations. We're entering into, I've said this so many times, but we're entering into the craziest time of the year. Hold your breath. At the individual level, everyone's going to be going, I'm only one person, what can I do? I'll tell you what you can do. You can smile at people. You can deliberately choose not to let your buttons get pushed. You can deliberately choose not to let yourself get angry. And you can do your best not only to smile at people, but to bring joy into your lives and the people that are around you. Because one person doing this will make another person do it. And these little droplets will lead to a tsunami of change. The world's going to be a very different place by mid-November. Hopefully we'll all still be here. I'll still be putting out astrological forecasts and breeding positivity. Without change, you get entropy, which leads to decay. We can't continue the way we have. We're heading down a path of mutual self-destruction, and if we carry on like this, humanity is going to be extinct within 2 or 3, 4 generations. And do we really want this for our children and grandchildren? I prefer the positivity of change. Even though it's unpredictable and potentially disruptive, it's better than no change at all. So, this month, it's going to be crazy. Let's get to the middle of the month. Everything begins to pan out. Don't forget, the single best thing we have going for us collectively and individually is hope for a better future. Not just for us, but for our descendants as well. Catch you soon. Bye.